We end up becoming our own worst nightmare because we're not able to just see the emotions for what they are and stay consistent in a way that feels good to us, in a way that feels aligned to us, versus saying and thinking it needs to look a certain way and I need to be consistent like this. And if I'm not consistent like this, then that means I'm a failure. Hello, my beautiful muses, and welcome back to another week's episode. I am so excited to be sitting here again visually and speaking to you guys. I feel like I'm in my living room and you guys are just like in front of me and I'm having a cup of tea with you, and I'm just like really excited about this vibe that I have going on here. TJ had painted my walls when I moved in for my office, and like I had this whole visual for like the rug that I wanted in here and like the energy, the vibe, and I just within like the last month shifted things around and got it exactly how I wanted. And so I'm so excited to be doing this. And if you're just listening to this on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go check it out. The visual is on YouTube and I have the link in the description. And you know what, let's just jump in to this week's episode because I think this is a very important conversation to have. And as I was sitting here asking myself, like, how can I be more consistent? How can I polish my consistency for the new year and for the next few months or for the next whatever? I realized that I had not really broken this down on a podcast episode yet. And so as women, we know we're cyclical. We know that we're not very consistent in the way we look physically, right? There's days that we're more bloated, that we're retaining more water. Emotionally, we're not very consistent either. We feel an array of emotions in a given day, let alone a given week or a month. Spiritually, sometimes we feel like we struggle spiritually. Like in every way, women are designed to not be consistent. Like if you really think about it, it's like we don't look the same every day. We don't think the same anyway. We don't feel the same every day. So how can we possibly be consistent when we by nature are not structured and designed to be consistent? And what I realized that's the most important thing is to stay consistent in showing up for yourself and the things that you desire. That's where it's important, right? Because when you show up for yourself consistently, everything else kind of falls into place. And that looks a little different every single day. And I won't get too deep into that, but I do believe that what comes behind staying consistent and not letting your foot off the gas, even when you're having hard days, even when things feel like you're struggling or things feel challenging or things feel hard, you're still lightly on the gas. You can go slower, of course. We're meant to go slower sometimes, and sometimes we're meant to just go fast, right? We're meant to just go like pedal to the metal and go as fast as we can. The problem is that we not only don't recognize our emotions or process them or give them space to be processed and felt, is that we get caught up in the emotions and then we become volcanoes. Right? And what I mean by that is we're all volcanoes. As women, we have that like intensity, that passion where we like lash out, where we get angry, where we break up with someone and we're like, I'm going to show them, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. We have that in us. And when we don't use that for good, when we don't use that passion and that power for good, what we end up doing is that we become a volcano that explodes and erodes, and the lava destroys everything in our path. We end up becoming our own worst nightmare because we're not able to just see the emotions for what they are and stay consistent in a way that feels good to us, in a way that feels aligned to us, versus saying and thinking it needs to look a certain way and I need to be consistent like this. And if I'm not consistent like this, then that means I'm a failure. Then that means that I'm no good. And of course I can't do it. And then we just like stop it all, right? We let the lava just destroy everything because we're just not meant to do it. A lot of the time, especially in the new year, we want to sprint. We want to just like go for our goals. And then what happens is we hit a wall, and that wall is usually really tough emotions, whether it's frustration or anger or things didn't go the way we wanted to, or somebody didn't act the way that they should have, or we feel heartbreak, or we feel pain, or we feel sadness, or we feel lower vibrational emotions. We don't know what to do with the emotions, so we hit a wall, we stop everything, right? We let our foot off the gas, we stop everything completely, and that's not even the worst part. The worst part is that then we compound shame and guilt on top of that. And what happens with shame and guilt is that we get stuck there. Shame and guilt are probably the heaviest emotions that we can carry, and most of us carry even the baggage from the year before, and we're carrying shame and guilt into the new year because we didn't accomplish the things we said we would do the year before. And so really releasing and processing the shame and the guilt is vital and it's so important. And I won't get into too many details on that here, but I did create a 4-video series, small short videos on emotional mastery. And it's a way for you to free yourself from your emotions, to process them, to really start acknowledging them, mastering them, and then to be able to even communicate the people that you love the most and the people around you, to create and cultivate those healthy relationships. And so I will link it in the description box so you guys can go and sign up for that. It's absolutely free. I really wanted to give you guys a resource that you can go back to over and over again, because like I said, shame and guilt, so powerful that we stay stuck there. We get stuck in the mud with that shame and that guilt, and then we compound it, and then we start finding ways to do more of that, of the things that we shouldn't be doing, so that we can just validate to ourselves and prove to ourselves, like, I'm not worthy, I'm just not good enough, this isn't the life for me, I'm not meant to do these things. And that's just not true. The only problem is that we didn't acknowledge the first emotion, and that we just decided to let that one emotion become other emotions, and then we became an explosive volcano, and we ruined and destroyed everything around us. And so I have found that the biggest key to consistency is when I am sad, when I am on a lower vibrational emotion, when I am grieving, like when I lost my cat last year, anything that's like really lower vibration, that's not the time that I try to make a great sale at work. That is not the time that I try to talk to TJ about how I want our relationship to look like in the next 6 months, and how maybe the thing that he did 3 months ago is still bothering me. When I feel sad, or I'm like, when I'm in those lower vibrations, I don't go weigh myself. I don't go do the things that I know are only going to require a different energy from me that I am not capable of holding right at that moment. Doesn't make me weak. I just can't hold it at that moment, because those heavier emotions are just lingering there, and I'm probably not going to get the result that I want. And so those aren't the days that I do that. And it took me forever to recognize that I even did this. It took me, I think, I don't even know, but I remember weighing myself one time, and I was like, why do I keep doing this? I woke up in a bad mood. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and then I went and I weighed myself first thing in the morning. Why am I compounding the not feeling good about myself? We do this again so that we can validate, like every time I weighed myself, I'm like, oh, of course. Like, it's easier to feel pain than to feel happiness and joy. So we stay stuck in that. We're like, let me just find things that are going to help me validate that I suck as a person, and that I can't lose weight, and I can't do the thing. And then this is, of course I'm sad. I have to feel sad. And now I feel shame. You see what I'm saying? Like, we snowball the effect. Instead of me just seeing, hey, why did I wake up on the wrong side of the bed today? Like, what am I holding on to? Is it anger? Is it sadness? Is it frustration? Let me just acknowledge that emotion. No, instead I would compound it. I would go weigh myself, get frustrated. I would see an email I didn't like. I would work out and it wouldn't be my best workout. I didn't feel good about the workout. And then I felt shame, and then I felt guilt, and then I compounded all these things. And all I needed to do was just recognize the first emotion. That's why the emotional mastery video series that I did is so important, because that is the basis and the foundation to everything I'm going to say on here. But I really wanted to give you guys a different perspective on staying consistent in a way that feels good to you. And so those are the things I don't do when I'm feeling sad and all that. What I do when I'm feeling sad or frustrated, or anything that is like not my best self, or when I wake up and I'm not my best self, I give myself not only the awareness of the emotion, process it, but I also just let myself be. I don't put pressure on myself to do more than I need to. I know what I need to do, like to do, let's say, the bare minimum, to just like do just enough, right? Just move the car just enough, just like leave it lightly gassed on there, but not go too fast. And then that allows me space to take a bath, to be sad, to be in my emotions, to process the emotions, to grieve, to do all these things. I promise you it's easier said than done. But the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. Now when I'm feeling things, I'm like, let me just go give myself 20 minutes, because those 20 minutes or an hour or a day or a half a day or whatever it is, it's going to set me up to feel better and process that. And then I won't want to blow everything else up. Then I won't start grabbing things. What happens also is we start grabbing things. I'm unhappy with this. Oh, I'm unhappy with that too. Oh, my boyfriend did this. That makes me unhappy. Oh, fuck this job. I'm unhappy with that too. And oh, I'm never going to get the money that I need. And we start grabbing other things that are going to make us feel sad, so we can keep compounding that, and we can feel sorry for ourselves. When we're feeling the sad emotions, that's not when we take actions. That's not when we go look for a new job. That's not when we try to have a hard conversation with anyone. That's not when we do those things. We just allow ourselves to feel that emotion. And the opposite is true. When we're feeling on top of the world, like you probably are now, and it's January, and you feel like you're unstoppable and you can do anything and everything because you can, and we have that fresh start feeling, right? Like, that is the most amazing things. Like when you open up a new book, it's the first day of class, when you break up with someone and you've gone past the heartbreak, and now you're like, I'm gonna be the best version of myself, and he's gonna eat his heart out when he sees me, and you get a fresh new hair color. That new fresh feeling that we are like always searching for, and that we want so badly, we have right now. It's January. It's like we're in the midst of it. This is where we compound things. This is where we take those energetic leaps. This is where we take like jumps, right? We leap and we do things and we compound the good, so that when we're in the not so good, when things are not so great, we can walk, and we can walk with ease, and we can walk without feeling shame and guilt that we're not running and sprinting like we think we should be. We're not meant to do that. As women, we're not meant to do that consistently. We're not meant to take leaps. Like, imagine if every day you just took leaps every day. you'd be exhausted. This is where people use terms like burnout and like, oh, I was doing things and I was just not even happy and all these things. It's like we need the slowdown to appreciate the non-slowdown. We need the lows to appreciate the highs. Like we hear all these things, but it's like, well, what does that even mean? It means that you need to practice it when you're feeling it. It means that when you're on a high, that's not when you're just like, oh, I made a sale and this is great and I'm just gonna like F off and not do. No, this is where you compound the good. You do more. You created a good piece of content. You create more great pieces of content. You said something great at work and they were really proud of yourself. How can you do more? How can I get a raise? How can I get a promotion? If you're a business owner, how can you get more clients? You see what I mean? Like if you had a really great conversation with your husband or your partner and you feel really connected, how can I increase that connection? How can I do more? This is where we do it. The problem is that when we're sadder and lower vibrations, we start analyzing everything, because for women, everything is interconnected for us. And we start analyzing, like I said, and grabbing onto different things, and we allow them to mean things about us. And then we want change then. We want things to change then, and if not, we're even more sad, and then we're frustrated, and then we're angry because things aren't changing. And like, how can things change when you're in that vibration? Things won't change. They will feel more like the same. And so allowing yourself that space, allowing yourself to walk, allowing yourself to nurture yourself. Energetics is such a big component when it comes to this, because in masculine energy, we're doers, we're goers, we leap, right? And in masculine energy, we take the big leaps. And in feminine energy, we slow down. We can't have one without the other. We just don't know how to slow down. We want to leap, hit a wall, get frustrated, and then we're like, I need a break. I need to slow down. We're not taking a break now out of love and compassion and nurturance like a mother would give to a child. No, at that point, we're stopping because we're exhausted and because we went against ourselves in our own alignment. And so a lot of gurus, mentors, coaches will teach you things that have worked for them. And so we see those things and we're like, well, that works for them, so it should work for me. And when it doesn't, we get frustrated and we're like, why doesn't it work for me? I'm obviously broken. There's something wrong with me. No, that works for them. And one of my bigger goals in this podcast and speaking with you all is that I want you guys to find the perfect balance for you. And so when I share my story and when I share the things that have worked for me, I see it as a collective. I see it as, in all women, we experience this. There's not one woman that I know that hasn't either leaped, burned out, or that takes a big leap and runs and then hits a wall and stops it all, or that sometimes doesn't even move, she just stays stuck. And the only underlying reason for any of this is the emotional aspect of it. And so I try to see things in perspectives and very broad terms, and then I help myself through it, and then I teach you guys how I help myself. But the true magic here comes from you understanding and you figuring out what your perfect balance is. When you're sad, do you need a day? Do you need a couple hours? Do you need 20 minutes? Do you need a whole week? If only you have these answers, and only you can give yourself exactly what you need. And when you're in high frequency and high vibrational energy, when you're doing all the things, how much can you accomplish? How much can you do without feeling exhausted? Only you know those limits. Only you know your own boundaries and your own standards, and how great of a life and how great of the desires that you want. And so as you're listening to this, it's hard to be consistent because we're trying to be consistent in a body and a mind frame that is not ours. We're trying on other people's mindsets and mind frames and all these things, and we're saying it doesn't work. Why can't I be consistent? And so we blow it all up. We throw it all away, but we become the lava that just like burns down the city, instead of just slowing down when we need to slow down and going fast when we need to go fast. But the consistency is never letting your foot off the gas. And how do you do that? By showing up for yourself. A lot of the times we feel so burned out, so exhausted, so misaligned, so tired of everyone's crap, tired of all the things that you do, because you're not showing up for yourself. And you're doing everything for everyone else. You're putting everyone else's needs first, including your children. And I'm not a mother, and I understand this, and it's probably gonna rub people the wrong way because you're like, well, you're not a mom, you don't understand. No, but I have been a daughter, and now I'm a stepmother, and I do know and understand that kids don't listen to what we say. They see what we do and they mimic that. And so if you're consistently over giving to either your children, your spouse, your partner, your work, or whatever else, and you're not giving to yourself first, and you're not showing up for yourself in a way that feels good to you, you're going to expect them to give you what you don't give to yourself, which is 100% going to lead to resentfulness. You're going to say, where's the love and validation that I was expecting from you? How do I have such ungrateful kids? Why don't they see everything I do? How can they not understand that I've been sacrificing myself? And then sometimes we even tell them, like, do you not see everything I do for you? Nobody wants to be loved by somebody that does that. Versus, I'm showing up for myself. Hey, I'm going to wake up a little earlier than my kids. I'm going to give myself 20 minutes. I'm going to fuel myself, whether that's spiritually, mentally, physically, or all three. If you're on top of the world and you're ready to take those energetic leaps on the day that you are, do that first and see how you'll want to give to your kids. And you won't give in that resentful energy and the screaming and the yelling. You won't give in that energy anymore. You'll give to them in a way that feels really aligned, feels really good, that you're happy to do. This is like the number one thing that I hear with people that come to me that are in relationships. Women, we do this, we overextend ourselves, we give too much to our partners and not to ourselves enough, and then we start resenting them. And the number one thing I hear is that they're so frustrated with like little things that they do. Like they always leave the toothbrush off the thing. There's always their socks everywhere. There's always this and that. There's always all these things. And it's never those things that it's the real reason that they're frustrated with their partners on any of it. The reason is that they haven't shown up for themselves. They haven't given to themselves. They're expecting their partners to, and their partners will 100% fail to because they're men. They don't understand what we need in the background. They only understand what they see right here, what's in their face, what's in the box in front of them. That's all that they're capable of understanding. But when we're so disconnected from ourselves and we want that connection with our partners, we actually repel it more. And so then the little things that they don't do, like pick up their socks and you told them to leave the toothbrush in the thing and all the little things that you expect them to do because you want them to get that right because they're not getting anything else right, you start getting frustrated and resentful for. But it starts with you. It starts with showing up for yourself. That's the only thing in your life that you can do consistently and not get tired of, not get sick of, not burn out on, is showing up for yourself. And so to wrap up this whole episode, I want you to think of how can I stay consistent? How can I show up for myself, whether it's spiritually, mentally, or physically every single day? What of the three or all three if you're feeling like a superhero? And then how can I process my emotions? Go to the videos that I created. I'm giving you the tools to be able to see the emotion for what it is, not compound it, and just be able to keep my foot on the gas. That's how you create consistency. It's like, think that the vehicle you're in is the showing up for yourself, right? The vehicle you're in is the showing up for yourself. And every time you show up for yourself, your foot's able to stay on the gas. And the days that you need to slow down and show up for yourself by just journaling, by sleeping in, by crying, by being like a sad little person in the bathtub, you're just slowing down. You're going 2 miles an hour. You're barely moving, but you're going 2 miles an hour. And then the days that you're showing up for yourself and it just feels amazing and it feels great, then you kick it to gear. You just go as fast as you can. And those are the energetic leaps that people take. There's nothing wrong with you. You don't lack anything. The only thing that I've noticed women lack is emotional awareness and then being able to master their emotions. That is the key component to all of it because we're such emotional creatures. By nature, we're emotional creatures. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, we're inconsistent by nature. We're not designed to be consistent. We're designed to give nurture to ourselves, love ourselves. And so I hope this episode resonated, and I really hope that it helps you stay consistent this year and just helps you set the tone for the life that you desire and all the things that you desire. If you haven't watched my last episode, I talked about being a match to your desires versus goal setting because I do believe that it doesn't work for everyone. I don't think that goal setting works for every single woman, especially if you're an emotional person like me or you're really connected to things. They need to make sense. They need to like feel good. And so if you haven't listened to that, go listen to that. It's going to help you too. And thank you again for watching, and I will talk to you guys next week.